pasta, usually for pasta, I mean, you have two different types of pasta, one with semolina flour, or you could just use all-purpose flour. For here, we have just regular all-purpose flour. Semolina is more like a coarse ground flour, so you get more of a, it's sort of a little bit more coarse too, so you get a different texture of pasta. But here we have just plain all-purpose flour. And then you just make a little hole in the center. So really pasta is pretty much just flour, eggs. Sometimes you can put a little bit of water, but primarily any dough for pasta is usually flour, eggs, and you could also do it without eggs. It could be just flour and then water. So if you're not using eggs, then you just substitute the eggs for water. And then some salt, a little bit of salt, and that's it. So salt here, and then you make your little well, and then you just take your fork. I'm pretty sure you guys see people do it on TikTok, no? And then you just, as I'm going around in a circle, I'm gradually pulling some flour into the center to absorb the egg. And then once the dough forms, and then you just kind of knead it until it gets smooth, and then it's ready to go. So at that point, once it gets smooth, you just take it, wrap it in plastic like we have here, and then you just let it rest for a couple hours. You can also do it the day before, so even if you make pasta dough today, it lasts in the refrigerator for a couple days. So you can do it to where you have it for a couple days too. So once the egg is really not a lot of liquid left, then you can just kind of pull more into. And then if your dough gets a little bit too dry, you can add like another egg. You want to grab me another egg? It may be okay, but. And then now you can kind of take it and kind of start working with your hand to form the dough. And you want it to be a little bit tight. You don't want it to be sticky at all, so thank you. Actually, it's probably pretty good. So now the dough is forming. And I'm just going to push this over a little bit. Just kind of go in circles. Basically, you're kind of developing the gluten in the flour, so that's what's going to give the pasta the chew, the feel. Just like making bread, pretty much the same thing as making bread. Anybody make bread before? Yeah, so pretty much the same thing. If you have a machine that makes it easier, like you could do this in the food processor, just put it in a food processor, and it'll do most of the work, or even like a little KitchenAid mixer. And then you don't have to knead it as long, so you can let the machine do the work. But being we're kind of doing like a hands-on demo, I just wanted to show you guys, but you can do that as well. And as you can see, like the dough starting to get a little smooth. I'm gonna add the rest of this to it too, because it's a little tight. So basically, the more liquid you put in here, the softer it's going to be. So really, the easier it'll be to roll too. So you don't want it to be too dry, but then you don't want it to be too wet either. And then as you can see, the flour, as I'm mixing, it's kind of wet, but it'll all absorb right into the flour. Just going to pull all of this stuff into it. So really, when you guys make it on your table, if you just leave a little bit of flour out, and then if you have to add it to it, you can, once you guys go to mixing. See, it'll pick up all of the stuff that's on the board too, so that's around about what we want. See, when you do this, you don't have to go to the gym today. You know, you get your exercise. pre-workout. You can see now it's forming the dough again. And that's pretty much it. So then now you can just take this, just flatten it out a little bit of flour. That'll keep it from sticking to the plastic too, but it's okay. Yeah, give me a little bit. I think it won't stick anyway. Just a little bit of oil on it. And you can just take this. You could leave it at room temperature, or you could put it in the fridge. Either one. But room temperature is better because if you're using it the same day, then that way you don't have to worry about it. If you put it in the fridge, it's going to get cold and it'll be harder to roll out. But if it's at room temperature, it's a lot easier to roll out than being cold from the fridge. So we're just going to clean the table, clean this off, get all of this stuff off here. I'm gonna do it in 2 batches. I'm gonna do half and half just to make it a little bit easier. And then you can just use a good amount of flour. It keeps it from sticking. And as you roll it, you can see if it's starting to stick to the rolling pin or to the table. You just kind of roll it, and then you can turn it, and then you can kind of move it around in the flour, flip it over, and then roll it. We're gonna do like a pappardelle pasta, which is sort of like fettuccine, but just a little bit thicker than fettuccine. So depending on how long you want it is really the width that you're gonna go with. And you want to get it as thin as possible. With a pasta machine, it's a lot easier because it has the 2 rollers on it, so you can adjust the rollers down to the thickness that you want. So fresh pasta is not like dry pasta that you buy in the store. It doesn't take as long to cook. Like this pasta here, 2 minutes once you drop it in boiling water, about 2 minutes to cook. So it cooks really, really fast. So anytime you're making sauce or whatever you wanna to serve with it, you kind of want to make sure that everything's ready, because by the time you drop it in the water, it'll cook in 2 minutes, so everything's ready. So that way your pasta's not sitting too long. But the thing is to have everything pretty much ready before you drop the pasta in the water. And you can take this, and once you roll it out and put it in the refrigerator, or you can kind of let it air dry too. So what I usually do is I'll sprinkle it with some more flour on top. So we're gonna cut it this way. So I'll take the pasta, fold it up a couple times, and then just put a little bit of flour in between the layers. So that way when you do cut it, or you kind of push down on it a little bit, it's not sticking together. So depending on how thick you want it is where you want to cut. So that's the thickness that you want. And you can pretty much use it all, the ends, everything. Okay, so yeah, you just cut it about that thickness, fold it up, and then once you cut it, then you just kind of separate it so that way it doesn't stick together. And I'll set that on the side, and I'll roll out the other one. And you can flavor it with whatever, spinach puree. You can flavor it with tomatoes, olives, pureed olives. Herbs, if you want herbs in it. I mean, you can pretty much do anything. Basically the same thing too for ravioli. So you roll it out, you put your filling, put another piece on top, and then cut out your raviolis, and you have ravioli. So the dough is really versatile where you can use it for anything. And then you just drop it in your water. And like I said, it doesn't take long. And just take it and mix it up a little bit to keep it from sticking. It doesn't take long. A good 2 minutes. Then you can drain it Toss it with a little bit of oil and into your sauce. And any kind of sauce you want. You could do tomato sauce, you could do olive oil and garlic, you could do basil pesto, which we're gonna make next, which is a really quick sauce too, but you can kind of do anything. Veggies, if you like veggies, you could just saute some vegetables and toss it in the vegetables. But basically that's it. It's done. And then usually what I'll do too is, if I'm making sauce, a lot of times I'll save the pasta water to add to it if you have to thin down, because it has the flavor of the pasta in it already. It has the starch in it too, so you can use your pasta water to add to your sauce if you wanted to. But basically that's it, and then we just toss in a little bit of oil. Shake it. And then the oil's gonna keep it from sticking. So really, if you add sauce, you just cook it just like that, and then just add it into your sauce. So that's it for that. Anybody want to taste it? Yeah? Okay, so next we're gonna make basil pesto. Who likes basil pesto? Basil pesto. Basil pesto is pretty much it's a basic sauce. So really, the only thing it is basil. We have some garlic. Some basil pestos have nuts in it, but we're not going to put nuts in it. It's just going to be just basic, just basil, some olive oil, a little salt and pepper, and then some garlic. So you just pretty much put it all in a food processor. Just puree it until it's smooth, and that's it. Blender, you can use a blender. We're using a blender. Yeah, salt and pepper. And then you can make it as thick or loose as you want to make it, depending on how much oil you add to it. So the more oil you add to it, the thinner it's going to be. The less oil you add to it, the more pasty it's going to be. But it's really simple. It only takes a couple minutes to put together. And that's it. So if you want to add nuts to it, the basil pesto, the traditional basil pesto, it has pine nuts in it. But you can use any kind of nut that you like. You can use almonds, you can use, and it changes the flavor of it. So you could basically use any kind of nut that you want to use for it. But traditionally, basil pesto has pine nuts in it. And then I'll put this in the bowl if you guys want to. You have plastic spoons, Sean? You guys want to try the pesto too?